Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us in Citizen Live at 1. I am Ann Kiguta. Only 5,584 out of the 889,000 candidates who sat this year's Kenya Certificate of Primary Education examinations scored above 400 marks. That's out of the possible 500. Releasing the results at Mitihani House, Education Cabinet Secretary Professor Jacob Kaimenyi sought to explain why the ranking of candidates, their schools and counties has been abolished. We'll have the details with Sam Gituku a little later. Now, the Ministry of Education has outlined a raft of measures to be implemented beginning the 1st of January, which are geared towards reducing school fees for public school-going students. Now, among the measures include merging of day schools that have less than 2 streams, as well as rationalizing of teachers across the country. The ministry has also issued a warning to schools still charging examination fees to desist, as the government will shoulder the cost.
The scrapping of the conventional ranking. How is this going to improve the quality of education, as you have said?
Well, first of all, let's look at the negative aspect of ranking. Because as I said earlier on, the demerits of ranking, demerits outweigh really the merits. Because from now, what we expect is that the competition is going to be held. We don't want to annul the competition in the sense that you are comparing institutions which are not comparable. And I can tell you that looking at the product alone does not improve quality. For us to improve quality, we must look at the totality of education. So you bring on board physical instructor, the resources in terms, including the environment where the students are learning, including the people-teacher issue. You can imagine a scenario where a school has 1:20, as I said earlier on, and another one where it is 1:100. Really, they are not comparable in any way. And then, of course, we don't want our children to be subjected to an ending examination-oriented thing to post exam. Students must do other things, like physical examination. They must do music. They must be look at the heart. We must empower them to have certain skills. That's when we talk about life skills. You can't have a life skills when you are thinking about exams every other day. So asante sana, Mungu abariki ninyi. Let me talk to the entire group.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, let's take that earlier report. The Ministry of Education has outlined a raft of measures to be implemented beginning the 1st of January, which are geared towards reducing school fees for public school-going students. Now, among those measures, as I had mentioned earlier, include the merging of day schools that have less than 2 streams, as well as rationalizing of teachers across the country.
Informed the development of guidelines on the management of public secondary schools that have been communicated to the schools. Once these guidelines are fully implemented, we expect that the cost of fees charged by public secondary schools will reduce significantly. Now, so what are some of the measures that we stipulate in the guidelines, which will be implemented with effect from the 1st of January next year? 1, teacher rationalization. To ensure equitable distribution and optimum utilization of teachers, guided by enrollment and curriculum-based establishment, so as to remove the burden of hiring boards of management teachers from parents. 2, establishment of new schools informed by their viability on the basis of school mapping data and on the recommendation of county education boards. This, ladies and gentlemen, will ensure optimal use of available schools and consequently reduce the burden of constructing and equipping new schools from parents.
Our top story now. Only 5,584 out of the 889,000 candidates who sat this year's Kenya Certificate of Primary Education examinations scored above 400 marks out of a possible 500. Releasing the results at Mitihani House, Education Cabinet Secretary Professor Jacob Kaimenyi sought to explain why the ranking of candidates, their schools and counties has been abolished. Sam Gituku now reports.
In a total break from the past when top candidates would be named as well as best and worst performing schools and counties, the Education Ministry sought to release the results by announcing the category of performance. The aggregate scores have shown that only 5,584 candidates scored more than 400 marks but less than 450. This was a drop compared to last year, where 392 more candidates scored above the 400 mark. 55,000 candidates managed to score between 351 and 400 marks, while over 230,000 scored between 251 and 300 marks. However, majority of pupils scored between 201 and 250 marks. This means slightly less than half the candidates managed the half mark, even though according to the Cabinet Secretary, all candidates who scored 200 marks and above will get slot in secondary schools, representing 76.63% of the candidates.
If you look at the between 201 and those who attend between 201 and 300, we are talking about 54%, which is not bad, really.
Now, the fate of more than 200,000 pupils is uncertain in as far as progressing their secondary education is concerned, as they scored less than 200 marks. Those in the 151 to 200 points bracket total to 145,000, representing a 16.5%, while 5.59% scored between 101 and 150. Now, over 6,000 candidates scored between 51 and 100 marks, meaning they scored an average of between 10 and 20% in all the 5 subjects examined. Now, the schools can access the results for the individual candidates from district headquarters, while candidates may know their fate by sending their index numbers to the number 22252 via short message. Sam Gituku, Citizen at 1.
The Kenya National Union of Teachers has dismissed as misguided an appeal by Education Cabinet Secretary Professor Jacob Kaimenyi requiring union officials to withdraw the strike notice issued last week. While not Secretary General Wilson Sossion said the strike will take place unless the government addresses the plight of teachers before the expiry of the notice period.
It's a matter for dialogue. We've been patient, and we have been in 26 fruitless meetings that have been openly and deliberately frustrated by the same government that is talking about dialogue. That's hypocrisy of the highest order. What have we been doing? 26 meetings without any meaningful progress. An employer or a government that invites a worker for negotiations and for dialogue should have been prepared from the beginning. So really, that is public relation gimmick that is meant to fool the public. The truth is known, and we've given them 7 days. And the 7 days is still a window of opportunity for dialogue. If invited today, we'll attend. But there must be progress.
All right, we're still, of course, covering the release of those KCPE results. Our Jackie Maribe is standing by at the Makini School here in Nairobi and will bring us the action from there. Let's see what parents and possibly students also had said about the results being released today. Jackie, over to you.
Indeed, and the normal funfair that's normally associated with this day is simply not there. So we are wondering whether this is an anticlimax. This is the first time that results are being released in this way. There is absolutely no ranking. Last year, and we were here at the Makini schools, and from the minute we arrived, we could see parents, we could see pupils who were just receiving the results. There was a lot of dancing, excitement, and this is something we have not witnessed today. It's a bit quiet here. The only results we're getting are from individual parents who are checking through the mobile application system. And so we are going to bring you the results of the Makini schools as well as other top performing schools in Nairobi County as well as across the country later on in our subsequent bulletins. And of course, it is the same story, not just here in the Makini schools, but of course all over Nairobi County. We are not seeing the usual fanfare and razzmatazz that that is associated with this day. My colleague Bella Genga is here with me. Bella, this is the first time that, you know, KCPE Results Day, we normally witness a lot of excitement from pupils going to their homes, going, you know, to their schools. This is something we're not seeing today, Bella.
Yeah, indeed, Jackie, and that's because the school is still awaiting results from the NEC headquarters. And right here with me is the director of Makini Schools, Dr. Mary Okello, who has just told me that they're still receiving information from the parents who have called and are pretty much excited with the results from their children. And I'll just speak to her a bit right now and just pick her brain on the events this morning. Could you just step right here? Thank you so much for granting us this interview. I just wanted to pick your brain on the not very exciting mini ceremony we had this morning when the results were announced by the Cabinet Secretary for Education. And of course, that's because the ranking system has been abolished. So I would like to just pick your brain as a seasoned educationist in this country. What are your thoughts on the abolishment of ranking in Kenya?
Well, ranking helps people to know how the schools perform. But we at Makini don't necessarily focus on ranking. We focus on making sure that our children do very well. And although we haven't received all the results, from what we are getting from the parents, we are hearing that our children have done well. Yes, so far we haven't received the actual results. But if we go, we thank God that the children have done well.
Earlier on, we were having a bit of a chat in your office, and you were talking about ranking. And one of the reasons that the Cabinet Secretary has given is unfair competition. I mean, is it wrong to be competitive, in your opinion?
Ranking is a way of life. Even the animals in the jungle, you have the king of the jungle. Even in the Bible, God or Jesus ranked us according to our faith. Those of little faith did not experience their miracles. So ranking is always with us. Even countries are ranked according to their GDP. They are ranked according to their performance. So we can't run away from ranking. But we need to address issues that make ranking bad.
What are these issues in your opinion? Because he said that ranking makes it unfair for the students who are probably 20 in a class compared to a class that has 60 students. So what
yes,
kind of
well, if you are ranking 20, then rank them accordingly. Let rank 20 be ranked against the 20. But you can't rank 20 against 100. And also we have to look at the environment of the schools. If you are in Nairobi, a day school in Nairobi is in a hardship area. The traffic, some children are trapped in traffic for long hours. The pollution, the disturbances that happen in a city. You cannot compare that with a child who is in a quiet, serene area, in a rural area where there is no traffic, where there is no pollution. So children in Nairobi, in day schools, are disadvantaged. Even the noise alone in Nairobi makes it much more difficult for them to do well. So we should look at the factors that contribute to good performance or factors that undermine good performance and address them.
Just finally, to pick your brain, by what time do you expect to get results?
I don't know. We are still waiting. Maybe by 4 o'clock, we don't know. But so far, what is trickling in is when parents call and they thank us and they congratulate us and they say they are happy with what they have got so far.
All right. Thank you very much. You've heard it from the director of Makini Schools here in Nairobi, and we've just picked a brain about the abolition of ranking in schools in Kenya. Remember, today morning, the Cabinet Secretary for Education released the results of the KCPE 2013 results, and we'll be keeping you posted on the events as they unfold today. And from Makini School, I'm Bella Genga.
Bella and Jackie, thank you for that report. The hearing of a case filed by court leaders seeking to stop the implementation of the controversial security laws is currently underway at the High Court. Justice George Odunga has allowed the case to proceed. That's despite an application by the Jubilee Coalition to have the case heard by more than 2 judges. Kendago Obadia is following that case for us and now joins us live via phone link from the courts. Kendago, what's happening at the courts as we speak?
Well, the court had adjourned and for about 20 minutes just for a health break. But just to take you back to what transpired right in the morning is that the court commenced hearings of this particular case. Remember last week, Justice Lenola asked both the state and the Jubilee coalition together with court coalition to appear before the court to be able to defend itself against passage of the controversial security laws amendment bill 2014, which is now an act, of course, after having been signed by the president. Now, before the commencement of the submissions by both parties, the Jubilee coalition lawyers made an application that the case be heard by more than 2 judges. Actually, they used the term an even number, maybe 3 or 5, because this is a matter that requires a lot of consultations, and any ruling must not be done by 1 judge, but by more than 1 judge. And that was declined by Judge Odunga, who is presiding over the case today. That's another difference because it is now being heard by Justice Odunga. Now, Odunga said Lenola had ruled last week and directed that the case can be heard by a single judge, and that is what is happening today. And then court coalition went ahead to make their submissions. We had Senior Counsel James Orengo representing the court coalition making submissions and seriously faulting the passage of the bill. They said, Orengo said that the process in Parliament and the National Assembly was unprocedural and violated provisions of the law. That's the Constitution of Kenya. First of all, they said that the 2 speakers, the Speaker of the National Assembly and the Speaker of the Senate, did not concur that whether the bill is a bill that concerns counties or not, and that is a requirement under Article 110 of the Constitution. Orengo says that was violated, and that now is the reason to throw away the bill. The issues that came up also is the proceedings of that particular day when the National Assembly was passing it. They said it was so violent, and any product of a violent process is not a legislation that can be used by this country. And so the proceedings are now going on. We also had the Kenyan Human Rights Commission with their lawyer also making their submissions and also faulting the law, saying that it really contravenes most of the human rights gains that are anchored in the Constitution. And up to that point, we are now waiting for the defense team to make their submissions, but we are on a short break. We will be shortly going back to the court to hear the defense team.
All right, Kendago Obadia reporting there live for us. Thank you for that. And just before we move on to another story, we just want to invite parents who are watching this broadcast. If you do have one of your children who scored above 430 marks in these examinations, we'd love to hear from you and get in touch with you. Again, if your child scored above 430 marks in the just released KCPE examination results, please do get in touch with us. Our SMS number is 22422. You could text us your name, your child's name, their number and what they scored, and we'd be more than happy to reach out to you. And of course, you could also call us. Our hotline will be running on your screen at the end of this broadcast. If your child scored above 430 marks, we'd love to get in touch with you, so please do let us know. We switch gears now to an unfortunate report. Religious and political leaders from Garissa County are demanding answers from the government following the death of a Muslim cleric who was allegedly kidnapped from the county and killed elsewhere last week. They were speaking at the burial of the late cleric, whose body was found dumped in a water pond in Embu County. Martin Munene has more.
Of the slain Sheikh Mohammed Ali Kha, alias Dawara, that leaders from Garissa County demanded to know circumstances surrounding the cleric's death. According to Fafi Member of Parliament alias Bereshil, Sheikh Kha was whisked away by two people posing as police officers who arrested him on Christmas Day this year.
Na wakatoa pingu, wakamfunga huyu mjamaa na wakasema tunaenda kufanya pelelezi.
The MP said that they found the cleric's body at the Embu Hospital mortuary yesterday, where it was taken after being found in a pond. He added that every Kenyan has a right to security.
Katiba ilipatia serikali wajibu yao ya kuchunga amani na kuchunga mali na life ya kila mwananchi.
Nasir Mohammed, a member of the Garissa County Assembly, condemned the incident, saying that there are legal channels that should be followed when a suspect is arrested.
Extrajudicial killings is not allowed in the law. And therefore, I don't see why we have justice system in place. We have the courts and the security people in place who pick one person and go and kill that person.
The MCA further called on the government to urgently probe the killing of the cleric.
We wish to appeal to all the security organs of this country and the leadership of this country and all the area leaders that this issue is of very serious concern to the members of the public in Garissa and the Northeastern as a whole and in Kenya.
The burial was attended by, among others, leaders of the Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims, SUPKEM, members of Parliament Abdikadil Aden and Abdinur Mohammed, and several members of the Garissa County Assembly. Martin Munene for Citizen Live at 1.
Back to education matters now. The strike notice issued by the Kenyan National Union of Teachers has drawn mixed reactions from a cross-section of parents, with those interviewed in Nyeri County calling on the government and teachers' representatives to dialogue for an amicable settlement to this dispute. Bonareri Samaha brings us more on this story.
Some of the parents called for the government to look for solutions that would preempt the looming teacher strike.
Kama watu wote wale wanafanya kwa serikali, wakiwa wanafanya na kugoma, wanaongezwa pesa na kugoma. Sisi watu wa jua kali na sisi ndio tunatoa ile taksi ya kulipa hawa. Sisi tutalipwa na nani wakati huo watoto hawakusoma?
Naomba serikali yetu itangikie walimu wetu ili watoto wetu wafungue shule siku ile ya imetarajiwa.
The parents emphasized that both parties must be willing to listen to each other with a view to ending the suffering of the pupils and students.
Hii naomba kama msasi, niko na kijana anaenda tafuama, naomba kwa hiari yao hii mgomo wasimamishe hiyo mgomo until further notice, ama wapuuch ile waajiri wao naitwaje TSC, wakae chini ya TSC waongee wajadiliane.
Meanwhile, church leaders in Nyeri have called on political leaders to work as a team.
If all of us, we can make it to team up. Our country is so beautiful. Our country is so lovable. People have got a lot of talents. This multicultural way of living has also enabled us at least to know that our country is the best, which we can make it to become proud of.
Bonareri Samaha, Citizen Live at 1.
Well, Nairobi County Fire Brigade personnel had to step in and evacuate tenants from a 3-story building which they said was on the verge of collapse at Mwiki in Kasarani. Its foundation was weakened when the contractor allegedly embarked on alterations reportedly meant to strengthen its foundation while the tenants were still in the building. Alex Njagi has the details.
Occupants of this building in Mwiki in Kasarani, Nairobi County yesterday afternoon learned of the shocking news that being in their comfortable rooms was actually putting their lives on the line. They had to leave the building immediately as it started developing these cracks which show that its supporting pillars are slowly yielding to the weight of the building following alterations that were allegedly made on the foundation.
We saw the signs of impending collapse. So what we did, we told everyone to evacuate the premises, both this one and the other one.
According to Duncan Nasengo, who is the Planning, Compliance and Enforcement Officer in the Kasarani area, any alterations on a building have to be approved.
We are informed that this guy was trying to strengthen his building, and when he's trying to strengthen the building, he exposed all the columns. That is technically wrong.
The official says officers from his department and the police want to question the contractor and the owner of the house. The Department of Planning, Compliance and Enforcement has advice for developers of residential properties.
Developers should liaise and should try to follow up and get an occupation certificate for their buildings.
And to the tenants?
Tenants are urged to kindly ask for occupation certificates. That only happens in the suburb area, where tenants will come even to the office and request, kindly go and visit a certain area, I want to buy the house.
This latest safety scare comes 2 weeks after a building collapsed in Makongeni, Nairobi, claiming 7 lives and left many others injured, following what officials said was the direct result of the violation of proper building regulations and channels. Alex Njage, Citizen Live at 1.
Well, so much more is lined up for you in Citizen Live at 1. Don't go away. We're taking a short break and we'll be back with more.